Episode 8 of the Read Option Podcast is finally here. We're talking about Stefon Diggs to the Texans. What a crazy trade that is. Overrated, underrated wide receivers of all time. And we're going to talk about some NFL facts that are technically true. Enjoy.
Dalton steps up. It's complete. Remarkable.
Cut back outside right 30, 35, 40. Down the far sideline. He's still moving. It's going to go.
Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Episode 8 of the Read Option Podcast. We're jumping right in. How's your day?
Day was pretty good. It was beautiful outside. Got to enjoy a little bit of time out there. The weekend was awesome. My Hog baseball team swept another SEC series from Ole Miss. So 3 up, none down. It's been a good weekend.
Yeah. And we spent most of the day together, got brunch, and
Yeah.
we're recording this episode on Sunday, for anyone wondering. So it's coming out Thursday.
Yeah, the only problem is I'm going to be traveling for the week, so we're doing this one a little bit early.
A little early, but don't worry, there's nothing super time sensitive, so we'll be all right.
Just going to be all right. Crappy to travel for work for the entire week. So.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. All right, so first deal of business, outside, they're doing some tree work. If there's a little bit of buzzing or, some sounds of chainsaws back there, don't worry about it. It's just the sound of people cutting down trees, hopefully not into our house.
We are not chopping up bodies to be buried in our backyard.
No. Well, yeah. Not today. Anyways, let's jump into some news. Stefon Diggs to the Texans. Crazy. I mean, definitely, not a young wide receiver, but still well in his prime, in my opinion. Catches 100 passes every single year. Great possession receiver. Had double-digit touchdowns a few years ago. Stefon Diggs, clearly one of the best receivers in the league to the Texans. This is huge news.
Huge news. I guess my concern a little bit is for the last couple times so this will be his third team in his career. Is he getting the reputation of being kind of like a diva? Is this something that could affect the chemistry of a very good young Texans offense? Absolutely one of the top 5 receivers in the league. He's good for 100 catches every year. He's caught for 1,000 yards over the last 6 seasons. His touchdowns over the last 7 seasons, 8, 9, 6, 8, 10, 11, and 8. That's
consistency.
That's pretty consistent. Now, granted, he's been playing with Josh Allen and also Kirk Cousins, 2 excellent quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But we're not really sure what prompted the Bills to trade him, other than maybe Diggs was getting a little frustrated about not being able to win the big game, not being able to make it to the Super Bowl, landing on a Texans team that certainly looks up and coming.
Yeah.
Seems to be a really good fit. And this is what's interesting, is that the Texans, I think, wiped out the last 2 or 3 years of his contract. So they got him for 1 year. Maybe they're hedging their bets and saying, wow, we got 100 catch receiver, good for 1,200 yards, maybe double-digit touchdowns, with a very young up-and-coming quarterback. Maybe they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle for next year. Maybe they're not committing to Diggs as being a long-term answer. For one, as you pointed out, he's over 30, but also maybe rubbing quarterbacks the wrong way.
Yeah.
Maybe he's okay, but I just don't get it. Tyreek Hill was happy to leave the Chiefs, and now Diggs wants to get out of Buffalo.
Arguably
who do you
the 2 best teams in the league.
Yeah,
right?
what better quarterbacks do you think are going to be throwing you the ball?
I know.
And I understand Tyreek went nuts with Tua. I get that. But his opportunity to win the Super Bowl kind of left town when he did.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're a playoff team, but they're not a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I think they are still well behind Cincinnati with a healthy Burrow, Josh Allen and his Bills, and certainly Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, definitely.
Is he going to put up really good numbers? Sure, but he left his Super Bowl rings on the table, in my opinion. That's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, really
So I'm
did.
curious what's going to happen with Diggs, because they have been as close as 13 seconds away
Yeah.
from going to the Super Bowl, and certainly just quite can't get over that hump. But I'm not sure what Diggs thinks he's bouncing into that's any better than Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Stroud.
Stroud is fantastic, but he's only got 1 year in the league,
Sure.
so we really don't. We're not sure if there's consistency or longevity. We're all assuming there will be because he looked that good his rookie year.
Absolutely.
But you never know.
Does he hit the sophomore slump? Do teams start to figure him out?
Yeah.
Additionally, in Buffalo, Diggs was absolutely the bona fide stud number one wide receiver without question. Now you're going into a Texans team that really shared the ball last year with Tank Dell and
Nico
Nico
Collins.
Collins.
Yeah.
So does he just become part of the receiving committee this year?
And don't forget, they got Joe Mixon there now too.
And they have Joe Mixon there, so they're really going to probably focus a little bit more on the run game.
They're going to spread the ball out.
They're going to spread the ball out, and I think that going to bring out the diva in Diggs, because maybe he only gets 85 or 90 catches and not 110 this year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
true.
But interesting move, and certainly the Texans, wow, the AFC is just
They're stacked.
stacked.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now you have a team that won 2 or 3 games 2 years ago that went ballistic in the off season, and now they added a stud wide receiver, and they're just they're going to be playing with all kinds of confidence this year.
So the Texans are actually the first team to acquire on the offseason players that recorded these stats in the previous season. 100+ catches, Stefon Diggs, 1,000+ rush yards, Joe Mixon, and 10+ sacks in Danny Hunter.
Oh my goodness.
So-
and Hunter had 17.
Did he?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so he was in the top 5.
So, but they're
of
the
sacks.
first team to ever do that. That's
Wow.
a crazy good offseason.
And that's to go with the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year.
So that's scary.
These
That's really
guys,
scary.
if they just play the way they played last year, are going to be vying
They're gonna
for
be even better.
AFC Championship.
Yep,
Wow,
it's gonna be crazy.
that's great. That's a sick trade for the Texans, and it doesn't look like they gave up a whole lot. It seems as though they gave up a 2nd round draft pick next year,
Yeah.
but they also got back a couple low round draft picks.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I don't think they gave up a whole lot.
No,
to
I
get-
I wouldn't say they stole Stefon Diggs, but they definitely the
It
Bills
didn't hurt 'em.
the Bills didn't get as much as they could have for him. I think.
I think that really is a huge pickup for the Texans.
Big time. So with that said, how many quarterbacks would you take over CJ Stroud? Josh Allen,
Yes.
Justin Herbert,
Yes.
Lamar Jackson,
Definitely.
Joe Burrow,
Definitely.
Baker Mayfield,
No.
Jared Goff,
Yes.
Jordan Love,
No.
and Dak Prescott.
Yes.
You take Dak over CJ Stroud, really?
I would.
I think the longevity, Dak has been good for years, and Stroud has only done it 1 year. But yeah, I think I pretty much agree with you on all of those, except maybe Jared Goff, but that one might be like teeter-totter kind of thing where
I'm telling you,
where they're almost equal.
I think Jared Goff is.
He's a beast. I
They
like
were
Jared
one
Goff a lot.
half away from going to the Super Bowl last year, and he has made
He
such
was a key
crazy
component for that.
strides. Yeah, and so I think the only reason I would pick a lot of those guys over C.J. Stroud is because I want to see C.J. Stroud build up a body of work.
Yeah.
Did he have a phenomenal rookie season? Absolutely. Can he continue to repeat that? It looks like he can, with the addition of an excellent running game in Joe Mixon
Yep.
and Stefon Diggs.
Yeah. No
So
question, yeah.
it looks like as long as he continues to develop at his current pace and he continues to play with the confidence and the really good decision making that he has in his rookie year, I don't see any reason why those answers don't change significantly if you ask me those questions, those quarterbacks, same time next year.
Yeah. I mean, Justin Herbert might change. Lamar Jackson might change.
Agreed.
Jared Goff,
You're talking
Dak Prescott.
You're talking
those might change.
two-time MVP with Lamar Jackson.
Sure, but
so-
you're talking about a guy who had a crazy good rookie year, and if he can replicate those kind of seasons or better,
Correct.
then you might be talking about taking him over Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. And on paper, there's no reason to think he's not going to be better than he was this year. Number
Sure.
one, another year of learning the offense, another year of learning the speed
Yep.
of the NFL, reading defenses. Oh, and just so happen to add 2 absolute stud weapons for him to
Yep.
work with.
True.
So absolutely thinking that he some of those answers only because he doesn't have the
years.
track record behind him.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of wide receivers, we're going to jump into a segment. Overrated, underrated wide receiver edition all time. So this isn't just... These actually mainly are wide receivers that are either retired or, played in the past. These aren't current wide receivers. So we'll start off with Brandon Marshall.
I loved Brandon Marshall when he played. I think he might be slightly underrated as an all-timer. 8 out of 9 years in a row with 1,000 yards, 6 seasons of 100-plus catches. His stat line, 970 catches, 12,500 yards, 83 touchdowns. Played with some terrible quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I won't say terrible with a capital T, but
Pretty bad.
he played with Fitzpatrick,
Who had a good season.
Had a once in a lifetime kind of season.
Sure.
He played a number of years with Cutler, I believe, in
Yes.
Chicago,
Yep.
who was decent but wasn't necessarily ever considered elite. I love Brandon Marshall. I think he might be slightly underrated, and he had a pretty good 12, 13 year career, so he lasted a bit.
Yeah. I don't ever hear him in like the conversation about who are the best wide receivers ever. And I think you're right. I think he's underrated.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him up there as an
maybe not
all-timer.
10, maybe not top 10, but
but-
definitely in like the top maybe 30 or 40.
Yeah, he definitely had a very, very solid career, no doubt.
All right, controversial one. Wes Welker.
So you forced me to do something. You probably used my own weapon against me. You forced me to look up his stats.
And and also, if you were smart, you would have looked up Julian Edelman's stats as well to pair that. And did you do that?
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Because Julian Edelman has damn near identical stats, if not worse, than Wes Welker
much
in
worse.
his time in New England. Well, it depends on the stat you're looking at.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking career.
Okay.
So when
we'll talk New England after this, but go ahead.
So when Wes Welker played, I never liked him because I always thought he benefited from playing with Tom Brady for a majority of his career. Because when he was with Miami, he really didn't do much of anything. But
He was a punt returner.
he was a punt returner and a wide receiver 3 or 4 or whatever. And then he comes
Yep.
to New England and Tom Brady makes him famous. Okay. You could say that about a lot of receivers that ended up with really good career stats. Oh, they played with a really good quarterback. Say that about John Taylor because he played with Joe Montana. You could say that about other guys.
Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne.
Yeah. So my argument there probably doesn't hold a whole lot of water. 900 plus catches, 10,000 yards for his career, 50 touchdowns for his career. In context, Edelman, only 600 catches to 900 for Welker, almost 7,000 yards as opposed to 10,000 for Welker, and only 36 touchdowns. So as much as I really liked Edelman's game, he was a gamer. He played hard. He was never afraid to go over the middle. Welker's stats just flat out blow him away. So
I think he might have played a few more years, though.
Welker,
Yeah.
he did. Edelman really got cut short only after about 8 or 9 seasons tops.
Yeah.
So
But also, Welker didn't play a lot at the wide receiver position for the first
until
few
he
years.
came over.
So
over
it
to
might
New
have
England.
evened out.
Correct. So I underestimated Wes Welker for his career. He's got pretty good stats. Yes, he was Tom Brady's teacher's pet.
Yeah.
But he still put up real viable numbers for his career. So I stand corrected. I didn't particularly care for him while he was playing. but looking back in hindsight, he got pretty legit numbers.
Yeah. So, I mean, 5 out of 6 seasons with 1,000 yards in one of the spans of his career. 112, 111, 123, 122, 118 receptions, 6 out of 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, he invented the slot receiver position. He
Absolutely.
was the possession receiver for years.
Well, I'm going to give that one. So Marvin Harrison played to Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne was invented
fair.
the slot.
That's fair.
But Wes Welker certainly helped to put it on the map.
Definitely put it on the map.
I agree.
Wes Welker walked so that Edelman could run, basically, and averaged 11 yards a catch, even just like Julian Edelman as well.
Yeah, so I thought Wes Welker was catching a lot of his passes at the line of scrimmage, and certainly some of them were, but 11-yard average for your career is not terrible for a slot receiver.
No.
Because you're running a lot of slants, you're running a lot of
Bubble screens.
Yeah, quick bubble screens, exactly. Yeah. So I will give Wes Welker more credit than I have given him in hindsight looking at his stats.
Yeah. So Wes Welker, I think, properly rated.
Yeah.
I think most people agree that he's pretty good. All right. Terrell Owens. Overrated, underrated?
He's probably properly rated, and if he's underrated at all, it's because people couldn't stand his attitude.
That's exactly what I went with. I went underrated, forgotten because of his attitude.
Yeah, he really pulled off the diva act pretty well.
Yeah, a little bit too much.
Yeah, but you're talking about almost 1,100 catches for the career, 16,000 yards for his career.
Dude was really good.
And $150 on the touchdowns.
Wow.
And played for 3 or 4 teams. So, unfortunately, his attitude, maybe like Stefon Diggs and some of these other guys, it may have forced him out of some of the places that he played, but there's no question about the talent, no question about the stats, and no question about the numbers he put up.
Yeah. So some people that I saw when I was doing some research and stuff basically said Terrell Owens was like a step above Des Bryant, Julio Jones, and a step below Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice type of thing.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Terrell Owens had a good 15-year career, which unfortunately...
Well, I just meant talent.
Maybe. If Calvin Johnson had played 15 years, he probably would have been Jerry Rice.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the thing. Terrell Owens.
That's what I mean. So he was a step below. He was a step below talent wise because again, Calvin Johnson would have blown everyone out of the water
I would
if he played 15
possibly.
years.
Yep.
All right. Eric Decker is one of the ones that I think is interesting, to be honest.
So he only played 8 seasons. He had some 80 plus and 1,000-yard seasons. Really didn't put up major stats along the way. I think he had a couple good years when he was playing with Marshall and Fitzpatrick in New York.
Yeah.
But other than that, his numbers really don't jump out at me. So, yeah, I'm going to say maybe properly rated if you think he's a good career wide receiver, number 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go overrated because I think a lot of people romanticize how good Eric Decker was, but I think he was just like a pretty awesome wide receiver 2. But he wasn't like a great wide receiver 1 or anything like that. He put up a few years of like 1,000 yards, like you said, but nothing like extravagant.
Yeah, and I think he only had 1 season of double-digit touchdowns. So, I'm not. Eric Decker was a decent receiver for the 8 years that he played, but he wasn't making anybody think, there's Steve Largent.
Yeah, it's true. All right, last one. Deshaun Jackson. I'm going overrated.
So I have notes listed on him. He was sort of, not exactly, he was sort of a compiler.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Even though he had 1 season where he had 82 catches. No other season did he have more than 62 catches in his 15-year career.
But he had 4 other seasons where he had 1,000 yards. He had games where he'd put up 200 yards in a game.
He was a boom or bust kind of receiver.
That's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah, he was. So he never had double-digit touchdowns, but he had 2 seasons where he had 9 touchdowns. So he
towed the line a little bit.
Yeah, there were some seasons where, he had a pretty good season. He was, I don't know, I would compare him to like Mike Williams, where he's not going to get you 90 catches, but he's definitely going to get you 1,000 yards. And
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Definitely. He played 16 years, and only had 5 seasons of 1,000 yards.
not terrible. He had a couple other years where he's in the 900 range where he averaged like 17 or 18 yards a catch.
Yeah, sure.
So he wasn't going to get you the volume, but his touchdowns were better. They were kind of like Mike Williams. He wasn't going to get you double-digit touchdowns, but for 60 catches and 9 touchdowns, that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, not bad.
And so I still am with you. I think he was a little overrated, more of a compiler because he played so many years, but none of those years were all that stellar.
Yeah, not
I
crazy.
think his one year that he had 82 catches, he also had like 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns.
That's a good season.
That's an excellent season, no question about it. But after that, he was very inconsistent. I thought,
and especially when I used to remember him playing fantasy football. Like you almost didn't want him on your team, but you did at the same time.
Yeah.
Because he was boom or bust. You could get a 30-point week out of him, or you could get a 2-point week out of him.
Agreed.
So I'm going overrated on him. I think he did one thing really well, which was the deep ball.
Yep.
And he didn't always get that opportunity to show it off during the game.
I'm gonna agree on all counts. Yep.
Cool.
I'm with you.
Moving on to a fun segment that I think is going to be really hilarious. What is the worst single game performance ever from an NFL quarterback? Who's going first?
You can go first.
I'll go first. I think we might have the same answer, but we'll see.
Okay.
Nathan Peterman versus the Chargers.
We do not have.
We don't have the same
No,
answer.
No.
Nathan Peterman versus the Chargers. Oh my gosh. 5 interceptions on just 14 attempts. 66 yards and no touchdowns. Lost to the Chargers 54-24. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe 4 of those interceptions came in either the first half or like 3 quarters or something like that.
My God.
Really, really bad. Nathan Peterman is known for that.
Yes.
He's not known for anything else. Being known for throwing 5 interceptions against a team is really bad.
So I got mine, and I remember this. 2001, the Lions versus the Browns. Ty Detmer, he threw 7 interceptions.
Oh my gosh.
So he threw a record-tying 7 interceptions in a 24-14 loss, and had an 8th one reversed on a penalty.
Oh no.
Yeah. So negated by a defensive penalty. He's the only quarterback in the last 29 years to throw 7 picks in a single game.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
That's bad.
So, what's your second one?
I have an honorable mention
Yep.
because it's not technically the worst single performance from a quarterback.
Agreed.
It is the worst single performance from 4 quarterbacks.
Oh, wait.
Do we have the same one on that?
No, we don't, but I want to see if I can remember this.
Do you think you remember it? Do you want a hint? It's from 2010.
Oh, okay. Get it. Tell me.
The 2010 Bears versus the Panthers. Todd Collins, Caleb Haney, Jimmy Clausen, and Matt Moore combined for 22 of 51 for 90 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions.
Oh my gosh. And that was against the so it was against the Panthers.
No. It was both sides.
It was oh my gosh.
both sides of, of both teams.
That wasn't just the Bears.
That wasn't just the
quarterbacks?
Bears quarterbacks.
So that was all quarterbacks.
All quarterbacks combined from both teams.
Oh man.
Combined for 91 yards and 7 interceptions.
Wow. Did you happen to look up the weather for that game?
I did not,
was it
but that's
like
still terrible.
Playing in a hurricane or something?
Maybe
or
I'll
a
have to do some
tornado?
research on that.
Oh man. So I have an honorable mention as well. Except my honorable mention came in a really important game.
Yeah.
In fact, it was the Super Bowl. Kerry Collins in 2001 against the Ravens.
Both quarterbacks from 2001, by the way.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. 15 of 39, 0 touchdowns and 4 picks
Ooh.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl. That's
so
bad.
I think that there were a couple other guys in the Super Bowl that might have been almost as bad, but Kerry Collins, 15 of 39, that's like not even a 40% completion
That's really
percentage.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
that's just wow.
Putrid.
Yeah, and in the Super Bowl, how don't you take the guy out at some
I
point?
know.
Like just
You're
cut your
done.
losses.
Yep, you're done.
We'll put the rookie in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, interesting segment we got here. You went to the University of Arkansas,
University
correct?
of Arkansas, yes.
So you went to the University of Arkansas
87 to 91.
from 87 to 91. Anybody from Arkansas the year that you graduated, or just the years that you were attending there, that made it in the pros, that were notable, that were in the pros?
Yeah, there were a couple guys that were really good in college and so in the pros, and there were a couple guys that were really good in the pros. So James Rouse was a running back, ran for almost 1,000 yards in 1989, was drafted by the Bears, only played 2 years in the pros. He wasn't all that good in the pros. But one guy you might recognize graduated in 1990, and this guy actually dated a girl in my dorm. So I knew Barry Foster. Okay?
Yeah, I think I know the name.
He was about 5'8" and like 220 pounds
of muscle.
Oh, just straight muscle.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So he was a really good running back for the Steelers for a few seasons. He had one monster year in the pros, 1992, 1,700 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Damn.
Yeah. So you can look this up, and I urge any of y'all watching this to look up the 1988. I think it was 1988. Let me check my stats here. 1988, Arkansas versus the University of Miami. We were ranked number 8. They were ranked number 3. First play from scrimmage, 80-yard touchdown by Barry Foster.
Nice.
We ended up losing the game in a heartbreaking fashion. They kicked a field goal against us. We lost 18-16. But if you look up that play,
Yeah.
that is the fastest 80-yard dash I promise you will ever see.
Oh, man.
He booked through the line before the linebackers even knew he was there. And he was so fast that he was already 10 yards past the safeties by the time they even started chasing him.
That's sick.
Absolutely one of the coolest plays I've ever. And I watched it live.
At the game.
Yes.
At the game?
Yep.
You were in the stands?
Yep.
Oh, it's awesome.
So those two guys on offense. On defense, we had one guy named Wayne Childress who was a defensive end. He got drafted, I want to say by the Cardinals, but don't quote me on that, and had a decent career. However, in 1989, Steve Atwater graduated. Now, Steve Atwater, you want to look this guy up. He was 2-time All-Pro, 8 Pro Bowls, was absolutely one of the best safeties to ever play the game, went to the Hall of Fame, and this guy was an absolute beast.
Really?
He was a monster. He was like a Ronnie Lott back there.
And do you remember watching him?
Yeah, I remember
in
watching
Arkansas?
him. Yep, from watching him in Arkansas. So we had student tickets to every game that was a home game. And so there were other guys. Quinn Grovey was the quarterback, and we had a couple other guys on defense. Can't remember their names, but I remember going and watching the games. And there's nothing like being at a college football game when you're the home team.
Oh, that's probably
It
awesome.
is so 100 some odd thousand people. They're so loud. It's so insane, and nobody takes a play off. It's insane.
sweet.
So yeah, so Barry Foster and Steve Atwater, who went to the Hall of Fame, those guys played while I was there and graduated a couple years before I did.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yep.
That's sweet.
Yeah, they were great.
Good stories. Good stories. All right. Let's kind of continue with the back in the day talk.
All right.
I thought this was an interesting concept. We're going to take 2 players from the current era of football, and we're putting them on an old school team. So they're going back in time. They're going to be put on an old school team. Who are you taking and why?
So let's hear your answers first. What are you
All right.
thinking?
I'm putting Calvin Johnson on Dan Marino's Dolphins.
Oh my. Okay.
People were not physical specimens like they are today. Calvin Johnson would have probably had 30 touchdowns and Dan Marino would have had 60.
Oh my gosh.
And and that would have just been hilarious to watch, in my opinion.
You are not kidding. Oh my gosh, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
So I would put Bobby Wagner on Dan Marino's defense because
Oh,
that
man.
probably would have helped him win a few Super Bowls because the one thing he was missing was a solid defense. Okay, so Bobby Wagner, my thought, a technician, a leader. He was absolutely one of the best tacklers in history. In his prime, he was pretty good at covering people, and he always knew how to put people in the right spot.
Yeah.
And the one thing Dan Marino's Dolphins lacked for years and years was a commanding presence on defense, and I think Bobby Wagner would have helped him get there.
Yeah, giving him the Super Bowl that he well deserved.
Yeah, agreed. So, do you have an offensive player, or do you have a defensive player?
I have a defensive player,
Okay.
yes. I would love to see Darrelle Revis play in like the 80s and the 90s because he wouldn't be prone to all like the stupid penalties that he was prone to when he was playing in the early 2000s and
He was
late
still
2010s.
he was still a shutdown corner.
He was still a shutdown corner.
Even with all those, for the 4 or 5, 6 years where he was Revis Island, he was like a Deion Sanders. He was that good.
So now you can, beat up the wide receiver.
Now you can do whatever you
can
want.
do whatever you want. I'm thinking Darrelle Revis might be the greatest cornerback of all time if he plays in the 80s and 90s.
He might. It's certainly open to debate.
Definitely could be possible.
So my offensive player from this era to play back then, I'm not sure what team he would have played on, but Matt Stafford would have just been perfect to play back then. Toughest quarterback, just love his gaminess. So the Steelers didn't need him, but they might have won 3 or 4 more Super Bowls without Terry Bradshaw if you had Matt Stafford playing on that Steelers team back in the late 70s and the 80s that. Just because he's so tough.
I see where you're going with that. With the rules were different back then, so you could beat up people way more than you could beat people up nowadays.
And he would have been able to handle.
Stafford would have been like, my shoulder's broken, whatever. I'm going to throw another touchdown on you. Screw it.
Never forget the game when he had the separated shoulder, came in and dove across the goal line to win the game. And then
he's like, my shoulder, my shoulder.
Crumpled to the ground.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But I just love Matt Stafford.
Oh yeah.
His mentality was very much like the way they played back then. It was just, he was a football player.
He's tough.
Let's just be tough about this,
Definitely
shall we?
a tough dude. All right, moving on to one of our favorite segments. Dude, what are you talking about? You go first on this one.
So, last year, and by last year, I mean the year prior to this. So I believe the 2022 season.
2022 to 2023.
Yes.
Got it.
The Giants were paying 3 different head coaches and their respective coaching staffs. Pat Shurmur, who was fired in 2020, just 2 years into a 5-year deal. Joe Judge, who was fired that January, also lasting only 2 years into a 5-year contract. And they were paying their current, that year, their first-year coach, Brian Dable. Conversely, the Pittsburgh Steelers have paid exactly 3 head coaches total since I was born in 1969. 54 years. That was Chuck Noll, that was Bill Cowher, and that is Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
So the Giants paid paid as many coaches in 2022 as the Steelers have in 54 years.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That's freaking sick.
Yeah.
Just goes to show how dysfunctional that Giants organization has become.
Yeah, and how well run the Steelers must be.
True.
Because you are comfortable playing the long term, playing the long game where we don't go to the playoffs one year and that's it, you fire your coaches.
Yeah.
We're okay with, being 14, 15, 16 years into a guy's tenure.
Yeah.
And Tomlin has won a couple Super Bowls, hasn't he?
He has.
So,
and a lot of teams have that same mentality for quarterbacks nowadays. Oh, you didn't compete in, your rookie year. You didn't compete in your sophomore year. You're gone. We're going to draft another one.
Absolutely.
It's just but it's mainly these kind of dysfunctional organizations that they do this with. The Browns have gone through 1 million quarterbacks. The Bears have gone through 1 million quarterbacks. The Jets have gone through 1 million quarterbacks. It's these teams that don't win, that just aren't winning teams.
Agreed.
Because they have this stupid idea where it's we're not willing to have the patience to see if this works out.
Sure.
It's much like the Lions have done, where they gave the job to Dan Campbell and they were like, all right, we'll give you a few years and we'll see what happens, instead of firing him after the first year where they sucked.
Sure. I think their first 2 years that they were 15 games or whatever under 500, and understanding that you need to let the game plan
Yeah.
kind of work.
Come to
and
fruition.
grow. Yeah, exactly. You can't just say, okay, in 1 year it didn't work. In 1 year, okay, we'll go back to zero.
Yeah, these teams are like Super Bowl or bust in a rebuild.
Yeah,
for
in a rebuild
somehow.
season.
It's
right.
like, how does that make sense?
Agreed.
Makes no sense.
Yep.
So my dude, what are you talking about?
All right.
In 2020, if Tom Brady were to go 12-4 during the regular season, his career win percentage would have gone down. If he were to go 12-4.
God, dude, what are you talking about?
Sticking with the Tom Brady trivia, I'm gonna throw another one at you that goes hand in hand. Tom Brady has never in his 23 years of playing football been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. On top of the previous one that I gave you, he's never been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs in 23 years.
So he was either mathematically still eligible for the playoffs, or he was eliminated.
Or he was eliminated but at the end of the game, or at the end of the season.
Sure,
rather. Season
Sure.
17, game 17 of the year, or week 17 of the year, he was still playing for the playoffs. He still had a shot to win and go to the playoffs, or another team would lose and he would make the playoffs. But he was never mathematically eliminated from the playoffs until the very last
tick.
second of the very last game of the season was over.
Oh my gosh.
That is psycho stat.
Yeah, that would be amazing if it was a guy that had a 10-year career, let alone somebody who spanned 3 decades.
Yeah, dude.
Goodness gracious. What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah. Tom Brady was awesome.
Yeah, you'll never see. It's almost like Cal Ripken in baseball. You just won't see anything like that ever again. I just can't imagine you will.
No. All right. We're going to have one more segment before we go into our mini games, our trivia.
All right.
This one's called NFL Facts That Are Technically True. So NFL facts that are technically true.
All right. You're running the show.
I'm running the show for this one.
All right.
Did you know Joe Montana and Jerry Rice were actually teammates?
I did actually know that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Technically, that's true.
Technically, that's true. Did you know no one has ever hit a home run in an NFL game?
I'm going to think about that. You're probably right.
I think I'm right about that one.
Technically true.
Did you know Jerry Seinfeld has never played a down of NFL football in his entire career?
That I did not know.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not.
All right. Did you know? On December 6th, 2009, LaDainian Tomlinson ran for 64 yards and 1 touchdown in a 30-23 win against the Cleveland Browns.
Only now that you told me.
That's crazy, right?
That's technically true.
Is it technically true? Did you know if you throw an interception, the other team gets possession of the ball?
See, I'm trying to think of devil's advocate stuff here, but I guess you are technically true.
I mean, you could throw an interception and then the other person fumbles and they get the ball back. So maybe
but they
not.
still get possession of the ball.
They do get possession of the ball before they give
possession back, right?
All right, last one. Did you know that Marvin Harrison is Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dad?
It seems to be that would be the case.
Oh,
that is technically true.
That is technically true. Oh, man. All right, those are silly, but I just thought they were funny.
I know.
So,
all right,
we're gonna jump into mini games.
All right,
doing some trivia. I'll start because you only have one, right? You have 2 truths and a lie.
I got 2 truths and a lie.
Do you have a trivia or no?
I do not have a trivia.
All right,
for this
so we'll go back and
edition.
forth then. Do you know who the only team in NFL history is to never wear white jerseys at home? Can you think of the only team in history? So clearly Dallas is not in that conversation.
To not wear white?
Yep. There's only one team in NFL history to never wear white at home.
I probably watch them every week, don't I?
Oh man.
No, because clearly they wear white, but
In away games.
yeah, as I'm thinking about it, they don't wear white at home.
So who's your answer?
It got to be the Seahawks, right?
You got it.
Oh my
How
gosh,
did you
that's
get that
right.
one?
Because I just started thinking of all the only games that I ever watch are the Seahawks games, and I'm like, they never. Wait a minute, they always have the pajamas on.
Yep, they always got the
They
pajamas
always
on.
wear the
And
pajamas
they always
at
have.
home.
They always have.
That's bizarre.
They've never worn white. They're the
Oh
only team
my
to never wear white
goodness.
at home.
Wow, they'll wear the gross.
the
Neon color spray or whatever they
color
call
rush
them.
green.
Color rush green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look around.
Yeah. We got all
Painted my living room color rush green.
Oh yeah. All right, 2 truths and a lie.
2 truths and a lie. Okay.
NFL edition.
NFL edition. Willie Anderson holds the record for the most receiving yards in one game with 331. Barry Sanders holds the record for the most rushing yards in a game with 296 and 3 touchdowns. Derek Thomas holds the record for sacks in a game with 7 versus the Seahawks.
The last one was who again? Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas holds the record for sacks in a game with 7 versus the Seahawks.
Wow. Okay. This is
So you got
tough.
Willie Anderson, most receiving yards in a game with 331. Barry Sanders, record for most rushing yards in a game with 296. Derek Thomas, record for sacks in a game with 7.
All right, this is a tough one. I'm not sure I know any of them. But I have a
Well, you know Barry Sanders.
what?
Oh, no, for a fact?
No, for a fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you didn't know the players.
No. I know the players. I just
gotcha.
don't know the.
Okay.
I'm not sure I know. Like, for example, when we've done it in the past, I was like, yep,
Yeah,
that one's definitely true. That
yeah.
one's definitely. So I don't know if I know any of these for a fact, but I'm going to go with, and I think this isn't a very confident one, but I'm pretty sure Adrian Peterson holds the rushing record for the most yards in a single game. So that's what I'm going to go
That's
with.
your final answer?
That's my final answer.
You are correct, sir. Well played. Adrian
Hey.
Peterson, 296 and 3 touchdowns.
That's him instead of Barry Sanders.
Instead of Barry Sanders.
So that
yep.
was AP's stat line.
That's AP stat line. Correct.
Damn, got it.
And can you believe Willie Anderson, legitimately 300 for the Rams, Willie Flipper Anderson, 331 receiving yards in a game.
I can believe that because I saw Julio Jones go for over 300
That's
in a game
true.
against the Panthers.
And Derek Thomas, 7 sacks against
In
the
a
Seahawks
game.
in
Ugh.
one game.
That's putrid.
Dude, that
Definitely was not the Hutchinson, Walter Jones era, was
no, it
it?
was the Dave Craig era.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it was Dave Craig. He sacked 7 times. But dude,
That's unlucky.
That's
That's a decent season.
Brian. What's his name? Burns.
Oh, Brian Burns.
just signed a contract for $140 million and had only one more than that.
Yeah, it's true. It is
For
true.
a season with an extra game. Anyway,
All right.
all right.
Last trivia question before we wrap everything up. This one's really tough, so I might have to give you a few hints here and there.
All right.
Can you name the only 4 players to win a Heisman, a Natty, and a Super Bowl? Really tough.
And a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Bah.
Yeah,
Heisman. Heisman.
This one
Natty,
is really, really tough. I'm sorry,
and a
but
Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow doesn't get the Super Bowl. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, man.
you want some hints?
Oh, boy.
They're definitely all great players. They're not like it won't be like, oh, this one dude who, because they're Heisman winners and they're national championship winners, but it's not like a one-off type of thing where they were kind of good in college, they were really good in college, and then they sucked in the pros, but they happen to win a Super Bowl. They're all-time players.
Did Staubach win?
Nope.
Parts.
There's 4 of them too. I know this is a really tough one, but I thought it would be interesting, even just to talk about, even if you don't know any of them or you don't know all of them.
Stabler didn't win one, did he?
Nope. So here, let me give you a hint. Raiders.
Is it Kerplunkett?
Nope.
Not Jim Plunkett.
Nope.
Okay. So it wasn't. So it was Raiders and not Stabler.
Nope.
Raiders.
Underrated player. You want me to give you the next team?
So
Come back to that
he
one?
must have been playing with Marcus Allen. Who the heck was the quarterback then?
You hold on, go back a little bit in your thought process there.
I'm thinking quarterbacks and forgot that Marcus Allen won the Heisman.
Yup. So
And-
you got one of them.
And won the championship with USC.
Yep. Marcus Allen's number one.
Man, son of a gun. I was thinking strictly quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right. So I could change my
I'll give you another.
my process.
Let's throw
there.
another hint in there. Only one of them is a defensive player.
Only one of them is a defensive player.
Yep.
Charles Woodson.
There you go. Charles Woodson's the next one. Should I give you another hint here?
I can't believe I just remembered that.
That's a good one. That's good.
Because
He was a really good.
He's the
a really
one
good
that did
player.
the Heisman pose.
There you go. All right. Here's your other hint.
Okay.
Ready? Technically doesn't have a Heisman.
Reginald.
Yep.
Reginald B. Bush.
Yep. Reggie Bush. They took it from him.
technically. That's a good hint.
They took it from him.
So that's 3.
Yep.
And then you're going with a fourth.
This one might be real tough.
Probably going back a ways.
I'll give you the team again if you want.
All right.
Cowboys. But not Staubach.
And not Dorsett. Did they win he won a championship at Pitt?
Yeah, he did.
At Pitt?
Yep, 1976 national championship and 1976 Heisman winner.
I knew he was a Heisman, but I didn't think Pitt won a championship.
You
What?
hate it, right?
No, I just
Or you're just like, they suck.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a great
Pitt?
trivia question.
Yeah, really, really tough. I would never expect you to get all of those like off the cuff.
Oh, that's a really good, fun trivia question.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
Excellent. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Dang. I kind of
Can't believe you got Charles Woodson.
I threw myself for a curve by thinking only quarterbacks because it's been the last, I don't know, whatever, 15 years has been
I
like
know.
only
It's
quarterbacks
like
that
only
have won
quarterbacks,
it.
yeah.
But not remembering, way back when, you used to have a lot of running backs that won Heisman's.
Back when running was a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Running backs actually mattered and got
They
contracts.
actually counted.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode of
right.
the Read Option Podcast. Thanks
Awesome.
for joining us. Remember, comment on the social media posts and engage. We're always looking for entertaining comments and conversations and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to wrap this one up. So we got
Razorback Jack
and Tommy Touchdowns
signing off.
signing off. See you later. Thanks for listening to the Read Option Podcast, hosted by Tommy Touchdowns and Razorback Jack, produced by me, Tommy Touchdowns. Remember to follow us on all our socials, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, at the Read Option Pod.